Hi guys, this is Abdul Rahman on Chasing Green Arrows, and I will now be pimping your team. Forget your coach out. I think I think he needs to keep an eye on Regulon. He did tweet himself saying that he was going to be fit and not to get rid of him from our FPL team. So if he's okay, I think in that team you could probably do something like a Cornet to Bowen, and I think you can save the other transfer because I know I know he probably want to get rid of Kane, but I think with Brighton's kind of injury problems, they've got Dunk missing, they've got Webster missing. I think they've got 8 senior players missing altogether. So I still think you should give Kane one more week with that team. So I think Cornet to Bowen is a good move for him. Yeah, I think Gallagher and Benteke, it's probably a bit too much Palace, but they have got a decent fixture this week, I think, with Everton at home. But I think what I would do there was he's got Jimenez on the bench. I think I would do Jimenez to Josh King and play him ahead of Rafinha, who's got Chelsea away, which is a very tough fixture. So, yeah, I think I'd do that this week and then probably deal with Rafinha the following week. Yeah, he's actually got a good team this week, actually. And the only problem there is Antonio. And the latest news on Alonso now, I just heard as well, is that he's fine. So if he's fit, I actually think he could save a transfer with his team. But if not, then I think Tony to King is a good move. Actually, I think I'd do that move anyway, actually, Tony to King, because, Tony is going to be out for the next 2 games, most likely. And I think at this moment in time, you need a really strong bench. We've seen the COVID outbreaks, raging across the Premier League. So a strong bench is going to be needed. So yeah, Tony to King for that team. And I think this team is really good for the game week. It's actually a very strong team for this game week. To be honest, I can't really see any moves here. I think if he has money, he's got 0.0 in the bank and one free transfer. I think what I'd do with this team, I would save a transfer this week because he's got a really strong team, and then next week use his 2 transfers to bring in Antonio for Tony, and maybe downgrade. I think I'd probably downgrade Mbuemo, to fund Antonio. So yeah, I think I'd use my 2 free transfers, for game week 17. But for this week, I think he looks really good. I think he could save a transfer. I think this team is quite similar to mine, actually. He's got Tony and Rafinha. I think what I do this week is again, I think Tony to King is the move here. King's got great fixtures. Tony's out for the next 2, and do Tony to King, and I think he can save his other transfer. He's got Vardy there. It was a really good fixture. And then again, I think next week, deal with Rafinha next week. Possibly bring in Bowen, or he could, possibly bring in Gundogan as well, whichever one he prefers. Yeah, this is quite an interesting team. I've noticed he's got Matip there. I think that's the first time this season I've seen Matip in somebody's team. But I think this week, excuse me, I think he can save this week, actually, because I think he's got quite a decent starting 11. I mean, if Regulon doesn't start, then I think I would do Tony out, for somebody. But if he does start, he is expected to start, because he said himself that he'd be fine. I think I'd save this week, and then again, the following week, use the 2 transfers on Tony and possibly Gallagher as well. So try and get Gallagher up to a Bowen or a Gundogan, or even Bernardo Silva, and downgrade Tony. Yeah. This is a good team. I mean, if he uses free transfer already, then I think I think he can save again this week, because again, look, he's got great fixtures. He's got Kane there against Brighton. He's got Bernardo. He's got Mount. He's got Bowen. So he's got all the kind of the main players who are kind of hot property right now. Who people are going to be bringing in. So I think he can definitely afford to save this game week and then use his 2 free transfers next week. To move out Tony. And yeah, I think he's in a strong position this week. I mean, again, it's a very strong starting 11. I think what I would do with it, I mean, he's got White on the bench, who who's got a good fixture this week. So he's got an okay bench this week with White and Sissoko. But again, I think he needs to get rid of Jimenez first out of that team. So I would do Jimenez to King or Dennis, whichever he prefers. I personally prefer King because he's won penalties and he's got better stats. Even though Dennis has been outperforming him points wise, I think Dennis will over the long run score better. So I would go Jimenez to Dennis. I would probably play White. Yeah, I think I'd play White ahead of Rafinha. So I'd bench Rafinha, play White, and do Jimenez to Josh King. Yeah, I think this is a decent wildcard team. I mean, I don't know if I'd go for Ronaldo just now, but if you want to go for Ronaldo, that is a good team. It's a decent structure, but to get that team, I mean, I think I would downgrade Smith Rowe to Mbeumo. I think he's a good option just to have there on the bench. I know he's not been performing lately, but he's still a good bench option. And I think if he wants to afford that team, then he's probably the one to sacrifice. Yeah, I like the team name. Show me the money, but the team again, it's a decent starting 11, but he's got a lot of fires there to put. He's got Adam Armstrong, who is a rotation risk. He's going to get rotated with Broja. He's got Brownhill, and he's got Omaba Madele, who isn't a full starter, and Huang, who's got a tough fixture. So I think I'd start with Adam Armstrong. I think if he can afford King or Dennis, bring one of them in this week. The rest of his starting 11 are totally fine. Brentford have got Leeds. He's got Mbeumo there. He's got Son and Kane. I mean, if the Spurs game is called off, then he's going to be in big trouble because he's got Sanchez, Son, and Kane. So so he has to really hope that the Spurs game goes ahead. But if it does go ahead, then I think Armstrong to King is the move there. This is me on Chasing Green Arrows, and I was pimping your team. So I hope it helped. But if I was to give kind of a general piece of advice, over this kind of hectic period, it would be really strengthen your benches, because we just saw last game week with Tony catching COVID. That was totally unexpected. Nobody was aware of that before the deadline. And also coming up, we've had the news of the possible COVID outbreak, for the Spurs team. And, I think this is going to be, a bit of a trend going forward. So really, I think we need to strengthen our benches, for this hectic period. So definitely, try not to kind of skimp out on the cheap benches this year. I don't think it's a year for it.